Well, hello, and welcome once again out to A Goodman's Tale. This is Josh Goodman, your host today. As you know, as always, A Goodman's Tale is a place where we can get down. We can talk about the nitty, the gritty, the good, the bad, the ugly. We can talk about life's most challenging, difficult times, and we can talk about life's greatest adventures, some of the best, most joyous, most prosperous, most happy times, and we can talk about, hey, everything in between. Listen, that being said, as always, if you are enjoying these episodes, we ask that you please like, subscribe, and also share. That's being said, let's hit the intro. Well, all right, check it out, guys. Today's show is brought to you by the word, and I'm going to try to pronounce this right, ekletos. Ekletos. The Apostle Peter writes in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, he says, and this is a scripture we know well, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. The word ekletos is the word that we get elect from, or the elite from. You are a chosen. That's the word chosen there. You are a chosen. You are ekletos. You are a hand-picked generation. Let me read to you the Strong's definition of ekletos. Chosen, defined as ekletos. You are selected. You are the favorite, chosen, the elect, the picked out one, the chosen one, chosen by God. Get this, the best of its kind or its class, excellence and preeminent. Now, let's put that in the phrase of how Peter's saying it. But you are the selected one. You are the chosen one. You are the hand-picked. You are the best of its kind. You are the excellent and preeminent one that God has in this generation. You are that royal priesthood. You are his own special people. Listen today, friends, oftentimes in our life, this world, social media, people trying to get ahead, climb corporate ladders, oftentimes mean neighbors, goodness sake, people cutting us off in traffic, all of the situations, all of the circumstances that we can face literally, guys, on a daily basis. They can beat us down, they can knock us down, they can push us down, they can drag us down. Just real quick, a quick little word, and I promise we'll get into the rest of the show. One of the very first things they teach you in lifeguard school is, if you're going to save a life, if you are diving into the ocean or into the swimming pool in order to save this life of this individual who is drowning, one of the very first things they teach you is to get that person, turn them around to where their back is facing you. Because an individual who is in desperation, who's dying, who's drowning, oftentimes they will grab you, they will push you down and try to get on top of you so that they might get a breath. So they teach you, you turn this person around, you grab them almost in a headlock, and so that they can't grab you, so that they can't push you down. Listen, friends, today, individuals throughout our lives, they're in desperation. They'll try to grab us. They'll try to be the ones who push us down. They'll try to be the ones who hold us down. Just for a breath of air, in their desperation, they'll try to hold down any floating thing that, even if you're trying to save them, even if you're trying to help them, they'll try to hold you down in order to reach the top of the water. That's how desperate they are. Now listen, oftentimes, they're not doing this out of a spirit of malice, mean, bitter. No, they're doing this in a state of desperation. And so for us, as wise believers, we got to realize that this world is in that state of desperation, in this place of difficulty where they're just trying to get a breath above the water. And if they can launch themselves up on you and push you down and cause you to drown, whatever they got to do to get a leg up is what they're going to do. So let's act wisely today. Realize they're not doing it oftentimes to be hateful or to be mean. Really, at the center of it, it may be hateful, it may be mean, but at the very center of it, they're doing it because they're desperate. So we need to flip that thing around. We need to realize things are what they are. We need to show a spirit of joy and love and peace, and then help these individuals to get to the place where truly they need to be. Why do I say that? because you are that ekletos, that chosen one by God. You have been hand-selected, hand-picked. Consider this, friends. Hand-selected, hand-picked for such a time as this. God did not desire that you would land anywhere else in history, but right now, right here, as they say in the Goonies, as they're sitting down in the well. He looks up and he says, "This is our time. This is our time down here. It's their time up there, but down here, this is our time." And friends, you can know that here in this place, this is your time. This is your place. You have been hand-selected for such a time, for such a place as this. So look, see how you can take your title, your anointing of being chosen, and apply it to the individuals, helping out those who are around you. All right, let's jump in today. As you can see, of course, there is no guest. You got me running solo, and so we're going to go ahead and follow our normal format and run through the icebreaker questions. And we've actually got 2 icebreaker questions today. The very first one, and this is one that I came up with because of a book that I'm reading. The very first icebreaker question today is, and these are usually would you rather be stranded on a desert island or lost in the mountains? I'm gonna let you sit and think about that for a minute. Would you rather be stranded on a desert island or lost in the mountains? And of course, we can throw a whole lot of hypotheticals in there with those questions. Am I lost in the Smoky Mountains or in the Rocky Mountains? Am I lost, down in Georgia or up in Canada? The situation, no. Well, let me just put some parameters. If you're lost in the mountains, you cannot find your way out. Okay. If you're stranded on the desert island, you cannot get off the island. So let's not try to look for alternative ways. Well, if I'm lost, then I can be found, or if I'm stranded, I can get away. No, let's suppose in this question that you cannot get off your desert island and you cannot get off being lost in the mountains. You cannot get away from being lost in the mountains. Which one would you choose? The way I see it, both of them have some real pros and some real cons. I mean, if you are lost in the mountains, right, chances are you've got some sort of wildlife, so you can make a way. You can forage for food, maybe eat roots and nuts, and you got a wood around you. You can build some sort of shelter. Maybe you could find some way of taking down a deer, so you can have some deer skin cloak. I don't know. But then again, in the mountains, it might get very, very, very cold, right? You're definitely going to need some sort of shelter. Of course, pros and cons of being on an island. If you're on the island, you may not have as much wildlife, but if it's an island, it's surrounded by water, so you got seafood. You can fish, you can look for mussels, clams, and so just as the mountain has a plethora of game or wild berries, then an island is likely to have a plethora of maybe fish and coconuts and roots and things like that. For me, I can tell you, as I am now in the middle or close to the end of reading Robinson Crusoe by Defoe, looking at it, I think above all, and for me, I hate the cold weather, so I probably would absolutely, positively have to choose the island. And again, reading Robinson Crusoe, seeing how he's building, he's got a place like a cabin, what he calls in the country on a mountaintop. He's got a little cabin or shack that he's built by the ocean. He happens to be on a desert island where there's wild goats and there's turtles and pigeons and all sorts of things that he can eat. He ends up growing his own corn, all this kind of stuff. I look at it and I say, if I could do all the things that he did, I would absolutely, positively have to choose being deserted on or being stranded on the desert island. The second question today, and this is going to touch some nerves for some of us today, and understand it does touch my nerdful, geeky nerves also. If you had the choice to only watch one type of movie for the rest of your life, and I'm going to give you the type, if it had to be either in the Star Wars genre, and what I mean by that is any Star Wars movie, including the Solo and the Boba Fett and Mandalorian, all Star Wars, right? If it had to be in that complete genre of Star Wars movie, or you could only watch Marvel movies, and that is in the complete MCU to include not just the MCU that is, Iron Man and Captain America, but also to include the X-Men and everything classified as a Marvel movie. Which would you choose? It's a great question for me, because I got to tell you, of the two, right, for me personally, Star Wars is my favorite. I'm going to tell you why. Because I can remember being, goodness sake, 5, 6, 7 years old and going and seeing Star Wars A New Hope for the very first time. I can remember the scenes of the movie, watching it through the eyes of the child, right? As Luke swings across with Leia, as Obi-Wan faces off with Darth and Darth takes him down, and then hearing Obi-Wan's voice in Luke Skywalker's ear, the Force will always be with you, right? I get it, I know. Probably if I had to choose a favorite, Star Wars would win the gold medal. But if I had to only watch one genre for the rest of my life, and I had to do away with the other, I gotta say, don't hate me, it would probably be the Marvel movies. Absolutely love so many of the, and they are honestly, guys, they're my go-to movie. I wish I could say Star Wars was, because of the two, I like Star Wars more, but my go-to movies are always gonna be the Marvel movies. So, like Star Wars more, but if I had to choose one to watch and only one, it would probably be the Marvel movies through the rest of my life. Listen, just as any regular show here at Goodmanstale, this is not going to just be about giving us the word of the day, and it's not going to be just about what would you choose, and I want you to consider what would you choose. I'm going to set up a email address shortly, guys, that you can actually email in your would you rathers in, and also if you have a would you rather, you can let me know. I was going to choose the mountaintop, and this is the reason why, I'm going to choose Star Wars, and this is the reason why. This will give you the opportunity to email into a Goodman's Tale and let us know your thoughts, your opinions, and what you think of the show. All right, as always, we begin kind of our discussion portion of the show by talking about some of life's greatest moments and some of life's challenging. Our very first show, I began to talk about some of my backstory, being raised, for several years in Haiti, speaking the Creole language, adapting, living amongst the people, literally being the only white individual with blonde hair in a nation of 8 million people, living not in the city where there might be other Americans that I could speak English with, but literally living in a place where nobody spoke my language, nobody looked like me, walked like me, talked like me, and so I had to learn to adapt and make friends outside of my comfort zone. And can I tell you, for me, that literally is one of my life's greatest experiences, changes. It caused me to grow, get bigger, and it's one of the greatest things that I thank God for. But today I want to tell you a tale of when I was 16 years old. And as the word of the day is being chosen, when I was 16 years old, I was hand-selected by really, it was a bit of a Christian undercover group. It was a group of individuals who had been smuggling Bibles into the USSR, into now the former Soviet Union, but this is when the Soviet Union was the Soviet Union, and the Eastern Bloc, all of the stands, and Ukraine, just all the whole, Eastern Bloc behind what was called back then the Iron Curtain. And to just kind of give some backstory to this story, understand I was born 48 years ago, and the atmosphere that I was brought up into, the movies that we watched, America was always the good guy. The Soviet Union was always the bad guy. You saw lots of bad guys who talked like Boris. You want to mess with me? We will use our nuclear power, or that was a little bit of Boris and Arnold. I don't know. I got lost somewhere in there. But with that, the Cold War and nuclear attack, and we watched movies that all had to do with, the nuclear fallout. If we were ever to have the bombs from America go off in the Soviet Union, and the bombs in the Soviet Union go off in the United States, and this had a spin-off of probably literally, guys, hundreds of movies and TV shows, and bunkers were being built and things were being thought out. DEFCONs were being set by the military. And so literally, guys, everything from CIA to Soviet Union to KGB, these were all things that we talked about literally, probably, maybe not on a daily, but weekly basis. And they were seen on TV, so many movies, so many TV shows. It was a constant part of our life, how those who were in the Soviet Union and the KGB and the Soviet military, bad guys, and individuals who were back here in the States, were good guys, and how at any moment, at any time, we could be living in this nuclear holocaust. And this was so much of what what we grew up in when I was a child. That being said, when I'm 16 years old, this group of kind of undercover underground church individuals who had been bringing Bibles into the Soviet Union for years, smuggling them in, hooked up with the underground church, all of these things, right? They hand select me and my dad they're like, hey, check this out. And this is the pitch. Check this out. We got an all-expense paid trip for you if you will go into the Soviet Union as guinea pigs. If you will openly, we're going to see if things like perestroika, glasnost, if these things are actually true, if they are actually opening up the Soviet Union to the gospel. We want you to see if all the political press is actually true. And we did it. I look back and I'm like, this is crazy, right? We chose, given all the fear, nuclear holocaust, you're going to be arrested by Russians as spies and all this stuff. And my dad says, boy, let's go. Let's do this thing. So we literally pack up our bags with all of our clothes, right, in the suitcase. And on the very top of all of our clothes is literally, we've got hundreds of Bibles in Russian, hundreds upon hundreds. I actually own one or two of the Bibles still that I brought back when I was 16 from Russia with me. Maybe one of the shows I'll bring it in. I'll show it to you. Hundreds of Bibles. And here we are. We fly into Kiev, our very first stop. Now, Kiev is a part of the Soviet Union, but they're Ukrainian. And so we fly in there first, kind of a test to see if we're going to be able to, make it into the Ukraine. If we can make it into the Ukraine, we can go deeper and deeper into the Soviet Union. We go into Kiev, have the Bibles out. Military opens our suitcases as we fly in. They take the Bible out. They look at the Bible. They thumb through the Bible. They put it back in the suitcase, close the suitcase, and send us on our way. There in Kiev, for the very first time, I have chicken Kiev in this elite, elegant restaurant. And then after dinner, we're leaving our hotel, grabbing Bibles by the handful, going out into the streets and handing them out to any individual. Well, I can't say any individual, every individual who would possibly want them. And there were literally hundreds of people, little old women, clinging onto the Bible, hanging onto it, not having been allowed to own a Bible for 70 years. Holding on to it, weeping, saying what I can only guess to be thank you in Ukrainian. From Kiev, we fly into Leningrad, which is now known as St. Petersburg. During the day, we're visiting gold-topped cathedrals and museums. At night, we're going out, we're seeing individuals who are a part of the underground church, bringing in all of these Bibles, walking the streets, handing out all of these Bibles to individuals. Literally, guys, we would be up at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, stay out till 2, 3 o'clock, handing out Bibles on the streets of first Kiev, then Leningrad. We had made it from Ukraine into the Soviet Union proper, Leningrad, and now we're going to the very heart of it, flying in to Moscow. Visiting places like Red Square, Lenin's tomb, the places that we had seen, the steepled building of Red Square, and where we had seen tanks, muster against college students who were protesting, and all of these things. And here we are now in this place, intense to say the least. Here we are, Red Square. Lenin's grave is over here, to the best of my memory, to the right. And if you go to Lenin's grave, you walk over there, and it's not a grave in the American mindset of a grave. No, you go over to Lenin's grave, and they actually have him entombed, and you can actually see his body. And it's in some sort of frozen state where he is fully dressed, and there he is laying in this glass box, and you can actually see Lenin laying there. Here we are, stacks of Bible in our hands, right? In Red Square. Lenin's tomb, handing out these Bibles to individuals, giving them out to people, again, who had not had access to the Bible. Understand that Lenin was the one who had brought communism, socialism to the Soviet Union, who had begun to bar the Soviet Union from having any freedom of religion, allowing the gospel in. This was the individual who had closed the door to the gospel, closed the door to the Bible, closed the door to unregistered churches, closed the door to so many of these things. And here we are standing in front of his tomb, handing out these, dare I say, unregistered Bibles to individuals who before now had not had the opportunity to receive them. And guys, I got to tell you, so Dad and I, hand-selected, hand-chosen, we were the eclectos for this trip. And we didn't speak the language, didn't know so much of the culture. It was so incredibly foreign to us. As a matter of fact, while we were in Moscow, we're in the subways and the tubes there, in and out of Moscow, this college student comes up to us and he says, American. And he says, he links up with us. As a matter of fact, I probably have still have pictures. Again, maybe bring them another time. And he begins to talk to us. And he was learning English in college. And so in his broken English, he says, I take you to good pizza. And we go out literally in the middle of the night to this little pizza joint. Don't know where we were. Don't know how we got there. And here we are. We take this subway to this subway and that subway to that subway. And hopefully we're going to be able to make it back to our hotel. And we get to this little, the best way I can describe it is this little dive pizza joint. They had the best pigeon pizza. And yes, I did say pigeon pizza. At first we thought it was kitten pizza. So we were glad when we got to understand his English a little bit better and realized it was pigeon pizza. In Moscow, they're playing Russian music through the music system. He asked us if we have any Russian music. There we are, sitting in Moscow, handing out Bibles, listening to Phil Driscoll's, what was it again? Songs like Let's Talk About It, The Power of Love, The Greatest Love, Stand By Me, Love Is Gonna Get Ya. These songs by Phil Driscoll, jamming through this little pizza dive in Moscow, handing out these Bibles. Guys, let me tell you, one of life's literally most unforgettable moments. We're flying back to the United States, literally like an 18-hour flight, long flight. And I can remember, I'm 48 today, I was 16 when I went and did that. And I can remember flying back on that flight, thinking to myself, we didn't speak the language. We didn't know the culture. We were simply selected not because of our ability, but because of our availability. Because we were those who some might call foolish, some might call silly, enough to say, yes, here am I, Lord, send me. I'll be the one who goes to this culture that I've been brought up to be afraid of, in fear of, suspect of, right? I'll go to this place where I know the Word of God, the military, the police have all been closed off to these things in the past. And I will be the one that says, here am I, Lord, send me. And as I sat on that airplane, American Airlines, flying home, that 18-hour flight back, I considered to myself, don't speak the language, don't know the culture, simply an individual who was chosen not for my ability, but for my availability. And today you need to know, friends, God is not selecting you, being that chosen priesthood, that royal generation, all of those things, that eclectos. He is not choosing you because of your ability. His ability surpasses your ability infinity times infinity times infinity. Your ability is nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing less than nothing when it comes to God's ability. What he's looking for is not your ability, but he's looking for your availability. And if you simply say, here am I, Lord, send me to the places where no one else wants to go. Nobody else wants to do this. Maybe it's a scary situation, and maybe it's a frightening thing, but I'm going to be the one that says, here I am, Lord, send me. Friends, when we put ourselves in that position, God hand selects us, he hand chooses us, and we will have some of the greatest adventures of our life. Listen, that brings to an end my tale of the day. Let's talk about our rules to live by in the South. Listen, if you're a Southerner, this one's going to ring home with you. We've talked about rules to live by in the South when it comes to opening doors and grits and things like that. This one is going to ring true with you. This is rule number 25 of rules to live by in the South. Just as our grits are never sweet, our tea always is. Tea in the South is always sweet. And understand, listen, I talked to you last time about how Southern have this innate ability to know if somebody's behind them, so they know to open the door. Well, Southerners also have different classifications of sweet tea. I'm going to give you those classifications. Listen, I'm letting you in on some true grit Southern stuff. Not everybody knows these things, okay? Grits, opening doors, those kind of, we say sir, we say ma'am, right? Well, just as I said that, tea has different classifications of sweetness. Now understand that unsweet tea does not even fall into the classifications of tea in the South. Unsweet tea is not even tea. So that's just, just take that off the board, number one. Number two, all tea containing sugar is sweet tea, okay? Now, you have different classifications. Like I said, unsweet tea is not even in, but different classifications of sweet tea. At the Goodman House, I can tell you that we drink our tea city sweet. All right, that's classification number one. City sweet tea, usually per gallon, has 1 to 2 cups of sugar, okay? Down to a half a cup, but really, if you're going to do a half a cup or less, just don't even do it, right? Because that even, but usually city sweet tea is like a cup, maybe 2 cups of sugar. Now, country sweet, so you have sweet tea, or unsweet tea is not even on the board. Sweet tea, classification 1, city sweet, 1 to 2. And then country sweet, well, country sweet, goodness sake, is that teeth cracking, ear ringing, when you take a sip of it, suddenly it goes to your head, mind blasting sweet tea. Oftentimes you'll find this level of sweet tea at Carolina barbecues, any sort of fish fries, any Southern barbecue restaurant. They have that literally teeth cracking, ear ringing sweet tea. Now, like I said, on the norm, I don't drink that. I drink my city sweet tea and I'm satisfied with it. But I gotta tell you, as a Southern boy, if I'm gonna have some barbecue, if I'm gonna have some fried fish and grits, then man, I gotta tell you, I'll delve into that country sweet tea just like that. Anyway, friends, that is about all of the time we have. I want to thank you once again. Thank you so much for joining me today at A Goodman's Tale. Listen, as always, if you've enjoyed this, like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. And also know I am working on establishing that email address so that you can mail in. Let us know what you would rather. And, if you have a tale you'd like us to tell here at A Goodman's Tale, we will be happy to tell it also. Anyway, that is about all the time I have for today. As always, until next time, live life with all you've got.